Hey, I'm ChristopherJMUA and welcome back to my channel. Unless you've never been here, of course, then welcome. I'm glad you've stopped by. Because today we're reviewing the Marc Jacobs Eyeconic eyeshadow palette. Not only is this unit carton super classy and like really pretty to me, but the palette itself is too. And from all of the Eyeconic palettes that I've seen from Marc Jacobs, this one was by far my favorite one. Not only the palette, but the entire collection that was dubbed Steelette was my favorite collection from him. Like I said, this eyeshadow palette was dubbed Steelette. That's the official name of the palette or style of the palette, and it's the number 820. This is the first time I've ever tried Marc Jacobs, so I don't know what the quality of the eyeshadow is gonna be like, or if it's even gonna perform well, but I'm ready to find out. And if you're ready to find out as well, then stay exactly where you are, keep doing exactly what you're doing, and keep on watching. Now I know you really want to see this palette, and I'm gonna show you, I promise. But before I open the unit carton, I want to tell you a little bit about the palette. Now I got mine from Sephora. There are actually quite a few different options for the Marc Jacobs Eyeconic palettes. I think maybe there are 8. I could easily be wrong about that, please don't clock me if I am, but this is the specific one that's called my name since it came out. The price of this palette is $49.50, and some details from the Sephora website about the palette are: this palette is a long-wearing eyeshadow palette that features 7 shades, including 4 fashion finishes: velvet, satin, silk, and lame, to layer and dress your eyes. What it does: empower your inner eye stylist with these ultra luxe eyeshadow palettes, each featuring 4 fashion finishes: buttery matte velvet, shimmering satin, sparkling silk, and metallic lame. Each curated palette includes a covetable mix of chic, neutral, wearable shades and provocative pops in a new super plush shadow formulation to cover lids in lasting, velvety, rich pigment. That was the longest sentence I've ever read in my life. Available in 6 different colorways. Choose the wardrobe that speaks to you, then layer it on to make the ultimate impression. Whoever came up with the verbiage for the section "What it does," kudos to you. You speak so eloquently that was beautiful. That paragraph was velvety smooth. Anyway, this palette contains 7 eyeshadows at 0.03 ounces each. It's formulated without parabens, sulfates, or phthalates. And I'm gonna skip the other 3 paragraphs of information about Marc Jacobs, but I will read the suggested uses of the palette. Layer the lame shades on top of the other textures for a metallic finish. Also try applying the pop shades as a base to add vibrancy to neutrals, or layer over top for a burst of color. And basically the instruction that it says is use velvet or silk and it will grip the shinier shadows. You can highlight with velvet shades, you can blend with silk finishes, and you can pop with lame. I thought it was really interesting that they say you can use lame shades underneath. I personally would have never thought to use bright shades underneath to help intensify other shades. I normally use bright shades to just add a pop of color at the end. But that's a really good idea. I like that because they'll layer on top of each other. That's smart. Now, let's open the palette. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Now I am gonna get a lot closer with this whenever I unbox it so you can see truly what it looks like really up close and personal. Now please don't mind the scratches that are on the actual unit carton. They were actually there at the store. I think this palette might have been there for a little while, but either way, I was still excited to get it. We have the front, which is a shiny metallic silver, and it shows that it's Marc Jacobs and that it is an Eyeconic palette, obviously. Then if we flip it over to the back, it shows all of the ingredients and the actual shadow names as well, and that's really cool, I thought. And of course it lists all of the ingredients at the bottom. The left side of the carton is blank and the right side of the carton is blank as well. And then we open it up. This is what I'm most excited about. It comes sealed in another little carton. Then when you open that little carton, then you have your palette. This is so beautiful. This packaging I just love, even with the little marks on it. I love this so much. Marc Jacobs just has some of the best packaging I've ever seen, honestly. So that's the front of the component itself. It feels very heavy, like very luxe. It looks like steel, honestly, which is kind of the point. It's very chromatic. Then if we flip it over, it is black on the back, and it also has the shade names listed. So we have Rule, The Concrete, Jungle, Sidewalks Become Sparkling Catwalks. If you didn't know, if you read the shade names from any Marc Jacobs palette, it's made to make a poem. So this one is Rule the Concrete Jungle, Sidewalks Become Sparkling Catwalks. I love that. I love Marc Jacobs. So this is the palette itself, and now let's get into swatching this palette. Our first shade is Rule. Next is The Concrete. Then we have Jungle. And then we have Sidewalks. Wow. And the shade Become. The shade Sparkling. And the shade Catwalks. And that is the entire palette. And of course, as always, I will insert pictures of the swatches, one with flash here. And then one without flash here. And of course I have to give you a little video of the swatches. It's only necessary. Those shimmer shades though. Oh, that's so gorgeous. I wanted to make sure I had you guys zoomed in pretty close so that you could really see how the eyeshadows performed on my eyes. Now, I know those swatches weren't the greatest, or at least in my opinion, they weren't the greatest. And I know part of that is because I was honestly kind of scared to push too hard in the eyeshadow pan. Let me show you these pans because I didn't show you before. These are the eyeshadows themselves, and it's a little bit smaller of a pan size, but I'm just so excited to have this palette because I've wanted it for so long that I didn't want to push really, really hard into the pans and destroy the shadows and get them everywhere. But on the same note, they weren't oversaturated with pigment. Like, they were soft, they were creamy, they felt velvety and smooth, but they didn't pack an immediate punch. So I can tell just by the swatches that this palette is gonna be more buildable than it is gonna be like, you barely touch your eye with it and poof, there's all the color that you needed, which I'm okay with. It's not something that really bothers me. As long as it performs well in the end, that's all I really care about. I just love all of these cool toned shadows, and I feel like it's gonna make a really, really beautiful look. So let's get started and see what that look's gonna look like. I'm first going to prime my eyes with the MAC Paint Pot in the shade Soft Ochre. Now the first thing I think I'm gonna do is go in with the shade The Concrete and do a light dusting of that all over the lid, just to kind of set my eyeshadow base in place. So far, gotta say, definitely a lot of kickback in the pan. If you care about that, that will be an issue. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a lot of it. I don't really care about kickback because so what? But some people do care about that. And if you do, that's okay. This palette just has some, or at least in this shade. Now I'm also trying to fluff this shade out a little bit just to make it a little more angular, or at least appear a little more angular. Almost like you would a wing, but not quite a wing. This looks so smooth. It looks very velvety and soft, and it's just a gorgeous shadow. I feel like I'm at a happy place with that brown now. How now, brown cow? So now I'm gonna go into the shade Jungle, and that is that pretty purpley one. And I think I'm gonna take that on my lid, on the outer edge and the inner corner. I guess outer corner and inner corner. I think maybe I might end up doing some type of halo eye sort of effect. I don't really know yet, but we're kind of just figuring out as we go along. That just sounds like a fun idea. Wow, that is a very pretty shade. That's beautiful. I'm really loving that. Ooh, I am noticing though, where I didn't tap the brush off on this side, there is quite a bit of fallout with that purple, and I'm very scared of that because it's a dark purple. I'm gonna see if it brushes away with just a little bit of translucent powder and hope for the best. Okay, I think it did. I'm also gonna pack just a little bit of translucent powder right under my eyes, just in case. Obviously this palette does have some fallout, especially if you don't tap the excess off the brush. Something to definitely take note of. Well, those shades blended in beautifully together. This is a wonderful, cool toned purple smoky eye so far. Now I'm going to take the shade Sparkling, and I'm gonna try this on a flat brush first, and I'm gonna use that to fill in the center of my spotlight eye. Spotlight / halo. I'll decide later. Well, it picked up a little bit. And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And a little bit more. Oh no, it's falling out. I can see the glitter pieces falling to my cheek. Right in here. I really don't want glitter all over my face. I'm actually gonna use my ring finger and just go in and see if I can use that to just kind of, oh yeah, okay. Ooh, oh, it's so pretty. Yes, yes, yes. Love that. Wow. And I'm just filling this in all over the center of my lid. Ah, woo, that's beautiful. Now I'm going to take the brush that I was using to apply this originally, or try to apply this originally, and go back into that shade just a little bit. But I'm really just going to use the brush to try and soften the edges of the shadow where I used my finger to apply it. Not really using the brush to apply it anymore, just more so to blend out the edges nicely. And then gonna go back in with the same brush that I used for the shade Jungle, the more purpley shade, and just blend in the shade Jungle with the shade Sparkling, just so it's a perfectly seamless transition between the outside of the spotlight and the inside of the spotlight. Now we're gonna go a little bit risky here. We're gonna go into the shade Catwalks. That is the black shade. I know. What am I thinking? I don't know. But I'm gonna take the shade Catwalks on this teeny tiny, teeny brush. I mean like very small. And I'm just gonna lightly graze the top of the shade, and I'm gonna pat this right on my outer corner and blend it slightly upward and into the spotlight eye, and then do the same thing right in the inner corner. And that's it. No more with the black. But see how it just added that little tiny bit of added dimension, but it changed the overall vibe so much more. I'm in love with this look so far. I really like this. Next, I'm gonna try and take the shade Sidewalks right onto my brow bone. I don't really know how this is gonna work because I'm not sure how this shade performs. I'm not even 100% sure what type of shade it is, but it looks really pretty, and I like really pretty. So we're gonna see. Oh, it's a silver. Oh wow, okay. Maybe not the best idea for the brow bone. No, that's okay. I just need to blend the edges away. Yeah, I think that'll be fine for the brow bone. It actually kind of suits the look really well. Ooh. Wow. Okay. I'm living for this palette and this look. Now I am gonna go in with this tiny tapered blending brush and just use that to slightly blend out the edges of this crease, just so all of these shades will kind of smoke out a little bit and blend a little bit more. Now I think that's it for the shadow that I want to use on my lids. I'm gonna go ahead and dust away this loose powder under my eyes so that we can finish off the look with my lower lash line. And if you care to know, the fallout dusted away like it was nothing. Now for the lower lash line, I'm gonna go back into the shade Jungle. But this time I'm only going to use the shade Jungle and not have it mixed with any of the darker brown shade, so it should show a little more purple than the rest. I'm so in love with this look. I know I've said that multiple times, but I really am. Now I purposely didn't finish off this little bitty gap right in the front, because I actually want to take that brow bone highlight, the shade Sidewalks, into that lower lash line as well. So I'm going to use one of my tiniest brushes here. It's subtle, but when the light catches it just right, it's beautiful. And that's it for the lower lash line. Now actually, one last thing I want to do on the lid is I want to take the shade Catwalks again, but with this tiny little brush again. This is the same one that I used on the outer corner and the inner corner, and I want to use it to make a really tight line across my lash line, almost like a pencil liner. I lied. I actually need a much smaller brush to do that, so I'm gonna go in with this flat brush instead. I started trying to do that with that brush and I was like, there is no way. I couldn't even get that brush on my lash line. There we go. See, it's subtle, but that makes such a big difference. Even though it's just a tiny little bit, you can definitely see the difference though. It closes off the eye and it makes the lid seem more like it's supposed to be like that, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm speaking with my vision. Now that I'm finished with the eyeshadow, I'm gonna go ahead and finish eyeliner in my waterline, put on mascara, and finish to the lip. Zoom you guys back a little bit and come back and let you know exactly what I think about the Marc Jacobs Eyeconic Steelette palette. Welcome back. The entire look is now complete and I've got you zoomed back out so we can talk face to face. Now I've gotta say, I love this look. I think all of the shades blended beautifully. The eye look itself looks amazing to me. I love all these tones and I just love how the shadow performed, honestly. So based on quality, performance, and color selection, it's a definite recommend. Do you think these shades are only available in this palette? I don't think so. In my own opinion, I don't think this palette contains shades that you can't find in other palettes from other brands. Except for the shade Sparkling, the one that I used on my lid. I don't know that I've ever seen a shade like that before. That one is probably completely unique. But you get my point. It has quite a few shades, in my opinion, that I feel like I could find from my collection in other palettes. So I honestly think that this palette comes down to more of a personal preference sort of decision. I think this comes down to, do you think that $49.50 is a reasonable amount of money for you to pay for a 7-pan eyeshadow palette? Some may say no, some may say yes. Part of this obviously is paying for a formula that comes from a specific name, like Marc Jacobs. There is the fact that this formula isn't available anywhere else aside from Marc Jacobs, and that type of quality could definitely be worth $49.50 to some people. I would pay that again for some of the other palettes in this collection. I especially love the packaging. That got me from the moment I saw it. So like I said, it's really going to be dependent on you and what you think you like and want. The color story in this palette is very specific. Very, very specific. It is cool toned, neutral purple shades, with maybe a little bit of a splash of a more vibrant purple, but it's still pretty deep. You could probably go light purple, you could probably go dark purple, but it's still going to be a very cool toned purple. And that's a very specific audience as well. So for myself, and for someone like me who is looking for the same type of thing in a palette, definitely recommend, but you have to be the judge of it yourself. Let me know too, would you get this palette? Do you like those cooler tones in a palette? I'm always curious to know, so let me know in the comments. And with that, that concludes this look and this video. If you liked this review, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It lets me know that you like the video or that you like me. And it also helps other people see me. It helps YouTube recommend my content to help me get out there so other people can be aware that I even exist. If you want to see this look and more looks like them, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. My username is the same for everything. It's simply ChristopherJMUA. And if you gain nothing from watching any of my videos, if you gain nothing from coming to my channel, period, please at least gain this. And that is to always remember and never forget that you're beautiful. Bye guys.